Recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Workplace Diversity and Inclusion with our speaker, Dr. Joyce McCullen. My name is Cynthia Vick, and I'm your host for this session. We just have a few friendly reminders for this session. If you would, please, would you mute your mic? And if you have any questions, please enter them in the chat. And I will be looking at the Hoover chat as well. So if you put in questions and answers in that, I'll be monitoring that. And if you would, also, we have a survey that's coming out tomorrow. And if you would fill that out, we would appreciate it. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Joyce McCullen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vick. I appreciate you so much. Well, good morning to everyone. It'll soon dip into the afternoon before we're finished, but I am super excited that I get to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion with our state counselors. I will ask you all, if you would mind, go ahead and typing in your name, your title, and your school in our chat so we'll know who we have with us today. I'll appreciate that so much. And I hope I can read it enough to where I can refer to it during my presentation. But good morning. We're going to talk about today your important role as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I am Joyce McClellan. I work at Tulsa Tech, part of CareerTech in Tulsa. I'm the Chief Development and Diversity Officer at Tulsa Tech. And I'm also responsible for our Student Career Services Division. And in that division, what we do, we're responsible for transitioning our students from career to college. As they transition from career tech, they transition to career and or college. And as counselors, I just wanted you to see some of the strategic action items that we're working with, or I'm working with, that relates to our students that speak to retention, completion, and successful transition. We're working on a student early alert program, a student ambassador program, which gives our students that student voice. We've this year incorporated social emotional learning to how we interact with each other and our students. And we're also working on a student mentorship program where everyone in the district, we're asking to, after they're trained, have an opportunity to connect and interact with some of our students. Also, part of CareerTech, one of our responsibilities is as we prepare students for success in the workplace, we are required to interact with our industry partners. And our industry partners, as we meet with them a couple of times a year, they basically tell us how we're doing. They look at our curriculum and make sure that we're still relevant in what we're teaching. But also, it's kind of a pulse check where we're able to say, well, how are we doing with our technical skills or our hard skills? And of course, they say, Tulsa Tech, you're doing a great job. But we also ask, well, what about those soft skills? Those soft skills always need continuous improvement. And they do say, we are asking you to continue to work on those soft skills. Some of us call them soft skills, some of us call them professional skills or employability skills. But all those skills, whatever we call it, our employers are still asking us to continue to work on those. And I wanted to give you a list of a few that we look at: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and helping our students understand how to build professional relationships. And last but not least, helping them talk about and appreciate diversity and inclusion, because our employers tell us before they come to us, they've got the technical skills, but we want to make sure that they also understand and appreciate how to serve and work with our clients, customers, and our patients. So that's why diversity is an important topic with our students. And we also know our schools and our society is becoming more and more diverse. And I'm hoping that everyone is staying on top of the trending data in their elementary schools and middle schools, so we can begin to see how our demographics are changing and what services and programs we need to incorporate to make sure we're ready by the time they get to our doorstep. So our goal today is to explore ways that counselors can embrace diversity and communicate and model inclusive practices in their schools. And I'm going to read this because I want to get it right. I found this as I was doing my research, and I think it really speaks to the work that you all do, the important work that you all do. As educators, we have long believed that education is the path towards breaking the cycle of racism. Although there has been much progress, there is still work to be done. School counselors have an ethical obligation to serve as advocates, leaders, collaborators, and consultants who create those systemic changes by providing equitable educational access and success by connecting their school counseling programs to their district's mission and improvement plans and programs. And through this work, counselors have a unique opportunity to be an important part of the solution of change. So that's the important work you all do for all of our kiddos. And I wanted to also start out by explaining this is our Tulsa Tech mission, our vision, and our core values. We have 10 core values, and if you look at them, we know that in order to successfully embrace all 10 core values or all 8 core values, we must always start with our work in diversity and respect. And we also teach that to our students. I think I probably got this list from some counselors, so you all know what this list looks like. You know, come with a learner mindset. I have this in my PowerPoints, both with my students and with my staff, because I want to remind them that sometimes this is a hard subject to talk about. And this is a space that we're going to extend grace to each other. I want us to lead with empathy and sympathy. And this is not a place that we have to be perfect. We just need to be brave, because if it's not for us to understand this, to pass this information on to the rest of our staff members and to our students. I like to start, I'm an educator, so I like to start with level setting with basic key terms. Diversity, we all know that. Diversity is how we are uniquely different. I also like to spend a little bit more time on this particular slide because I think it really speaks to the work of diversity and inclusion. On this slide, look at the middle circle, the primary dimension of diversity. Those are the things, the traits we were born with. These things typically will not change throughout our lives, and they have the most impact when it comes to diversity. It's our age, it's our gender, it's our ethnicity, our physical ability, our race, and recently added with sexual orientation. Again, these are the things that will not change over our life, and they do tend to have the most impact as it relates to diversity. Look at the outer circle. The secondary dimensions of diversity include our education levels, marital status, our religious beliefs, our parental status, military experience, our work background, our income, and our geographic location. Because of these unique perspectives, we each bring those experiences and those interactions and observations that we have. Let's go to geographic location. Think about, when I typically do this training, I ask people, where were you born? Were you born in the North? Was it the South, the East, or the West? Were you even born in this country? And I have conversation about that because I want them to hear how their perspectives about certain things are different just based on where they were born. And then I drill down a little deeper and I say, think about the neighborhood you were born in. Can you imagine where you grew up, who you were around, who you listened to, who had influence, who passed on their biases to you? And that's where that unique perspective and those unique biases tend to happen. I tell our students, remember when we used to sit in the back seat of the car and we used to listen to certain music that our parents listened to? We used to listen to their conversations. Well, they passed on to us without us realizing, and perhaps without them even realizing, they passed on some of their unique perspectives and some of those biases that we have to talk about. I also like to use this slide. I think this is a very visual that 10% of our diversity traits and characteristics is what people see when we walk in a room. Look at this 10%. It's our skin color, it's our gender, it's our body size, the physical ability, That's only about 10% of what a person sees when we enter the room. But when we enter a room, that's when people tend to put us in boxes and to begin judging us. And they do that by using only about 10% of the diversities that we really share. Look at the other 90% of those diversities: our culture, our values, our beliefs, our personality. Those are the things that really begin to shape who we are. Okay, this is how I like to talk about diversity and inclusion. I like to make it really simple, especially for our students. And our staff also likes how I define it like this. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And because I like to dance, I'll put this slide in here just for you. I just wanted to see somebody dancing. But when we get to the dance, inclusion looks like when you're greeted, once you get there, you feel welcome. You have the opportunity to select a song and dance the way you want to dance. People thought enough of you to prepare food or provide food that you like to eat. That's what inclusion looks like. And it's so funny that using this description, our students get it. They get, okay, it means not just inviting someone to the party, it's including them in a way to where when they leave, they've had a good time because they participated in everything that the party offered. And because you all are counselors, and I know you love Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I wanted to add this slide to really accentuate that we all understand the physiological needs are basic. And once students are sitting before us and they feel safe and secure, we can move on to the next level of Maslow's hierarchy: belongingness and the need for esteem and the feeling of accomplishment. And ladies and gentlemen, that's where we sit. That's where our work begins, because once a student is in front of us and feels safe, our work is to make sure they feel like they belong. And we begin working with them on those feelings of accomplishment, because guess what? If we can't do that work in the middle of the pyramid, then they're not going to be self-actualized. So our work is making sure that we help them along the way to become self-actualized. But this work right here, this middle work, it's the work that we do. It is diversity. It's honoring and appreciating their unique differences, their diversity, and figuring out how to include them. So it's the D&I work, the diversity and inclusion work, that helps them move on to those levels to be self-actualized. So I think this is really important for counselors to see this visual. And I also like to talk about equality versus equity. We all know what equality means. It's really the law. It means giving, in education, it means giving every student the same resources. Equity is diving a bit deeper and understanding each individual student and giving them individually what they need in order to be successful. But I like using this visual. Look at the boxes. In education, we start out by giving everyone the same resource. Everyone gets the same thing. Everyone gets a book, everyone gets a teacher, everyone gets a counselor. But our work is working with instructors to make sure we understand how students learn best. That's equity. Understanding uniquely how we can serve each individual student and provide the equity of giving them exactly what they need in order to be successful. Some people don't need as many resources. Some people need a little, and some people need more. But that is our work, is to work with our admin and our instructors. We lead this effort because we're kind of those problem solvers for students. Instructors come to us and admin comes to us to help them solve problems when it comes to making sure we understand each individual student. And that's where the work is equity, but diving a little bit deeper when it comes to equity. Blind spot. Would someone read this riddle for me? Would you unmute and read, please? Who's my reader?
I can. Oh.
Hey, who's that?
This is Mona.
Mona. Thank you, Mona.
You're welcome. The riddle is a son and his father are in a car accident. Both are taken to the hospital, but different hospitals. The son goes into surgery, and the doctor says, I cannot perform surgery on him. He is my son. Who's the surgeon?
Who is the surgeon?
The mom.
Say it a little louder. Tell us
The
who said that.
mom.
Who said that? Whoever said that, you're totally correct. But let me say this. I know you probably are thinking, duh, we all get that it's the mom, but you wouldn't believe that through some of our biases, stereotypes, and blind spots, it takes some groups, it takes them a couple of minutes before they can figure out the mom is the surgeon. It's okay. A woman can be a surgeon. And I do that just to make it funny, but it takes some people a little bit of time to figure out who the surgeon is. But again, it speaks to our biases and our blind spots and our stereotypes. Bias is a disproportionate weight in favor of or against an idea, thing, or person. Blind spot is when our brain makes assumptions or shortcuts, excuse me, based on our experiences. And I've got a video that we are going to see. We got our fingers and our toes crossed.
Are you seriously considering her? She's a woman. Not me. I'm not like that. You call it an honest mistake. Not call it blind spot. Our unconscious mind is a mysterious and powerful thing. It makes 90% of our decisions without us even knowing. Our brains are overloaded with 11 million pieces of information every second.
Thank you.
Bias make cognitive shortcuts using past experience to make assumptions. And you know what happens when you assume. Our unconscious mind can put us on autopilot, determining who we sit, who we lunch with, who we turn to for advice, and who we choose to offer a helping hand. Living our lives with blind spots can put us in a tunnel, standpoint of view, and decisions, and outcomes. We can find ourselves trapped in lens, snap judgments, and misconceptions. We've all been on both the giving and receiving end of blind spots. Think about it. Who's talented? Who's able? Who can I trust? Who belongs? We've all been there. Blind spots are part of the human condition. Our choices have consequences for us and the people we interact with. By accepting that blind spots exist, we can stop it. Imagine what possibilities we could do it all over again. Different perspectives, inclusive relationships, diverse networks, better outcomes. Seeing people for who they really are. People like you with unlimited potential. We all have blind spots. Once you accept that you have them, you can choose to do something about it. It's time to check your blind spots and focus on what's possible.
I'd love for you all to check out PricewaterhouseCoopers. You can Google PricewaterhouseCoopers. They have wonderful videos that you all can use, and they provide it to where everybody can use them. So please go to their website and go through and look at all of their videos available for adults or for students. The reason why I talk about biases is because as adults, as people, it affects our decisions and the way we act towards people. It affects our perceptions, how we see students, parents, and our community. It affects our attitudes, how we react to them, how friendly or receptive we are to them. It affects what students we pay the most attention to, who we listen to the best, more actively. It affects affects our micro affirmations, how little we comfort certain students. Microaggressions are those subtle or unintentional actions, statements, those behaviors that we sometimes do or say that make our students feel as though we're dismissing them, that they're not important. And we call it death by 1,000 paper cuts when this happens over and over and over. I also like to use the analogy of pebbles in our backpacks. Can you imagine a student having disparaging remarks, negative remarks, being dismissed, being made to feel as though they don't matter? And at the end of the day, each time that happens, if someone were to put a pebble in their backpack, at the end of the day, how heavy would that backpack feel? At the end of the week, how heavy would that backpack feel? At the end of the month, and certainly at the end of the year, how would that backpack feel? Those are the students that we tend to see in terms of making sure that they're healthy, their mental health is in place, and we have to constantly help them work through some of those negative feelings. You know, it's those everyday nonverbal, environmental slights, snubs, or insults, intentional or unintentional, that communicate hostile, derogatory, those negative messages that target all people, but certainly those people that are in those marginalized groups. Here's a video I'd also like to show. Think of a time when someone said something like some possible situation that made you feel excited, even if it didn't.
A microaggression is something that someone says to someone else without knowing that it may be offensive. It hurts.
Dr. McCullen, the videos are a little frozen. Can you send us the link to it, the YouTube link?
You can't hear it?
No, can you put it in the chat so that we can look at it later? Because it is a little glitchy.
Really? Okay, they're playing pretty good for me.
Okay.
I will do that. Should I go ahead and stop this link?
They do not realize that the underlying messages communicated.
They're glitchy for me. I don't know about anyone else.
So what about Mona? Can you see it? I'll go ahead and add it to the chat so you all can have that for later. Technology is not always my friend, so we always have to. And we tested these yesterday, and they worked perfectly, of course. But I think that's a good one. Students are able to talk about some of the microaggressions that they've had to deal with and how it makes them feel. And we all know that, but when we're showing this or teaching, talking to students, we have video that can help you. Sometimes videos tell a better story than how we can put it sometimes. So these videos are available. I will certainly put them in the chat, Cynthia, so they can have this particular link also. But there's a series with microaggressions for this particular, with this video. As we move on to cultural competence, when we know that microaggressions and biases can affect how our students feel and how we can relate to our students, cultural competence is another way that we can work really hard to make sure that we do the diversity and inclusion work. Cultural competence just refers to a set of congruent attitudes, practices, policies, and structures that come together in a system to enable professionals to work more effectively with members of culturally distinct groups in manners that value and respect their culture and their worldview. In a soundbite, the ability to understand, communicate, and effectively interact with our students across cultures. It encompasses first being aware of our own worldview while developing positive attitudes towards other cultural differences. And you all know this, it's incumbent upon us as we kind of lead the districts or in our organizations in bridging those relationships with students. about asking questions, becoming more familiar with diversity-related terms, being respectful, knowing that this is a continuous improvement process. And of course, getting to know our students, meeting them where they are. It's all about building trust and relationships. It's how do we engage? How do we connect? And we all know that our students come from various backgrounds, different experiences, different levels of trauma, mental health. We've got to know what resources our students need. And that's getting in there and asking them and working with their parents and teachers. And again, you all are preaching to the choir, but this is just a reaffirmation that this is the work that we have to do in order to help our students be successful. I'm going to transition a bit here and talk about LGBTQ plus the community, because recently in Tulsa, we had a senior student commit suicide, actually last Friday. And I just want to make sure that I go over this really quickly. Again, you all may know all this, but this is just a quick refresher. We know the L is lesbian, G is for gay, B is bisexual, T is transgender, Q is queer, and queer is no longer a disparaging or negative term because they call each other queer. They use that term. Intersex is anatomies that you're born with. It's those young men and women that are born and the doctor can't immediately check the box as to their gender. So they've got the anatomy that doesn't make it easy to check whether they're male or female. Asexual is when students have no sexual attraction to either sex. And two-spirit, or 2S, is where they are attracted to both. Gender identity, it just means who you are. Sexual orientation is who you want to be with, and gender expression is how you want to express yourself. If you would type in the chat, who is the name of the artist and the name of the song with these particular lyrics. I'm not a woman, I am not a man, I am something you'll never understand. If you would chat who this artist is and the name of the song with these lyrics. And Cynthia, if you would let me know if anyone got this right.
Yes. Oh, you got a lot. Let's see. Stephanie Chaplin. No. Wow, they're fast.
Are they fast?
Okay, Stephanie Chaplin was the first. Wait a minute. No, Monica was the first. Monica Ernest, and it was Prince. But Stephanie answered the question, I Would Die for You is the name of the song.
Ding, 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 ding. You're exactly right. I think Prince was a lot of our first encounter when it came to just gender fluidity. Don't know, I don't know if he's ever said, pronounced what he is, his expression or how he presents, but I say gender fluid. So he's kind of our first experience, and he did it well. So thank you, whoever typed it in the fastest, and those of you that know that information. But because of what happened, and a lot of us are facing some of these challenges with our students, I just wanted to go over this research really quickly so we know that this is facing a lot of us. In 2019, at least 27 trans and gender non-conforming people were killed in the US. 91% were Black women, 81% were under the age of 30, and 68% lived in the South. 1 in 10 were sexually assaulted in the past year. 54% experienced some form of intimate partner violence. 24% experienced severe physical violence. Okay, again, I'm going to ask you to put in the chat, how much more likely is a trans person of color to experience unemployment compared to the general population? Is it A, 2 times as likely, B, 3 times as likely, or C, 4 times as likely? A, B, or C? If you would put that in the chat, and then I will give you the answer. And Cynthia, if you would tell me who got the answer right.
Okay. It's Stephanie Chaplin.
Stephanie, congratulations. The answer is C, 4 times as likely. Here's another question. What percentage of trans people would feel uncomfortable asking, Our student resource officers or police for help. Is it A, 30%, B, 57%, or C, 42%? And if you would put that in the chat, A, B, or C. And the answer is B, 57%. Cynthia, who got that right?
It's Stephanie Chaplin.
Stephanie, I'm gonna let you just go ahead and finish this session. Stephanie, you go ahead. I'm gonna let you. Stephanie, you are well versed. Restrooms while training. More than half, 59% of residents avoided using the bathroom, and we know that. 1 in 10 reported being denied access to restrooms. 32% responded limiting the amount they ate or drank to avoid using the bathroom at work or at school. And this particular research was from UCLA, 2013 version and a 2015 version. So what are pronouns? And many of you probably know this, but just wanted to put this on the screen so that we are familiar with the feminine pronouns, she, her, hers, the masculine, he, him, his, and the neutral, those individuals that are asexual, intersex, or 2S, two-spirit, they sometimes use they, them, their. And of course, as counselors and as educators, our goal is to practice, practice, practice. And I encourage our staff to look for opportunities to use gender neutral pronouns to introduce yourself. We even have pins. I don't know if you can see this. These pins we give to staff where they can wear them with their pronouns. And it's just a way to let students in this community know that they belong, that when they're on our doorstep, we're going to embrace them. And I'm not trying to preach and tell people what to believe and what to think. But when students are before us in those classrooms and in our offices, you know, our job is to appreciate and love their personhood and let them know that they belong. And we're going to do our best to make sure they're successful, whether we believe in their lifestyle or not. And these are just tips that we can use to help them feel as though they belong. Here's the easy win. Here's the rainbow flag. I see a lot of counselors putting just a symbol in their offices, and I see staff putting it in their classrooms to let students know that you are welcome. Here's another easy win. More and more organizations are adding pronouns to their email signature line. I'm encouraging you to get to know your forms, make sure it has inclusive language, make sure your policies and procedures, your anti-discrimination policies list gender identity and expression. That's the newest, that's one of the latest things that we added to our anti-discrimination policy. Here's another win. Encourage counselors, staff, and new hires to attend and participate in DEI training. You should lead it. You know this information. You know how we need to treat our students, and we need to make sure that the rest of our organization appreciates that. Enable students to self-identify. Allow students to use the names that they like to use. Have gender inclusive restrooms, and I think we're all working towards making sure we've incorporated family bathrooms. You know, we have even moved to the level of asking students what name they want to be called, but we do ask, may I use this name in front of your family? Because we don't know if they've come out with their family. And, you know, what are your pronouns? Ask, again, may I use this in front of your family? And what else do I need to know about you? You know, we need to get to know those students that are presenting and maybe struggling. They may be presenting at school, but when they go home, they've got to take that mask off. And sometimes we have to help them through that process. Here's how we can make a difference. Understand and appreciate DEI. You know, we've all checked that box. Appreciating the different nuances of diversity is important. Identify those students that need that consistent, intentional, extra support and invest our time. And I know you know this, but if we need help, we should solicit the rest of our organization by asking to develop mentoring programs, student ambassador programs, all those programs that help us with those wraparound services of putting eyes and ears on our students. So again, we can help them be successful. And let students know that we see their potential. And I always like to say, remember, our kiddos when they don't talk out, they act out. And I think you all know that, of course. And what else? I use this slide again for our staff. Be upstanders. Don't just be a bystander. If you see something, say something. You know, that's the new slogan. Be vocal and intentional. Be open. Know that, you know, schools are a place that we need to extend grace. No blame or shame. We need to be allies to our students. And we need to know and examine and track our student demographic, because we need to know what services and things we need to have in place in order to better serve our students. I talk about the stages of diversity awareness and appreciation with both our students and with our staff. Look at this bottom level is denial. This is where people have a very narrow view of the world. The next level is dissent, where people use negative stereotypes, minimizing differences. I talk about that we're more similar than we are different, but I explain to students and staff, focusing on similarities means that we don't see you. We're not focusing on the individual nuances of each individual student. And I ask our students, do you think any of our Tulsa Tech staff, instructors, or counselors are at this bottom level of this awareness? And they say, oh, absolutely no, of course not. And I say, do you think our employers want to hire someone at these bottom levels? Of course not. And then I go on and talk about the top levels: acceptance, adaptation, and integration. And I say, this is where our employers want to hire you. They want to make sure that you know how to take care of their customers, clients, and patients. But with our staff, I'm able to say, staff, our students think that you're up here. And if you're not up here, then we've got some self-reflection to do. We need to understand what our limitations are and work on them. So this slide gives me the ability to encourage our students to work to get to those top levels if they want a really good job, because I let them know our employers are expecting you to be toward the top. And then it gives me a chance to say to our staff, if you're not at the top, our students think you're up there. And if you do have those limitations or those biases, process through them and work through them. Again, here's how you can help. Be one of the many voices that cultivate change in the world. Continue to embrace and appreciate the differences between yourself and those around you. No idea is more fundamental to success and performance and enabling greatness with our students than how we see ourselves and each other. My super tip of the day is understand and know how to show empathy and compassion. I think that is the antidote to helping our students work through shame, secrecy, silence, and judgment. And congratulations, happy Women's History Month. I needed to put this slide in here to let you know this is Women's History Month, and Monday was International Women's Day. The hashtag this year for Women's History Month is hashtag choose to challenge. So ladies on the call, with our women and our girls, encourage them to have a voice, identify those systems that discriminate against our girls, and remember that education is the great equalizer. Make sure our girls know that, let them know that we're behind them. And of course, we do that with all of our students, but with our girls that struggle with confidence or whatever they're struggling with, make sure that they know that they have a voice. Thank you. This has been an unforgettable year. Of course, we all know that. And as counselors, you're going to see, excuse me, an increase in student traumas, mental health. We don't know what next year is going to look like, but I'm asking you to remember, take care of yourself, because we appreciate what you do for all of our students and for our staff. And I wanted to ask each of you, I want you to take a moment and chat. Type in, what is your superpower? Tell me how you plan to create an inclusive and supportive environment where each student feels respected, included, and valued. What one thing would you say is your superpower in making sure that your organization and your students feel as though they've been respected, included, and valued? Type that in. It seems like we have enough time because my videos, I had 3 videos, but I won't show the last one. So I know we're going to end a little early, but I would like to know what they chat. Cynthia, do we have anyone that chatted any of their superpowers?
Yes. Being a unicorn, seeing the individual, a willingness to learn from them, awareness.
Those are all perfect. Thank you
Being
so much for
open.
sharing that. I'm
Sorry.
sorry?
And being open.
Oh my goodness. You know, our challenge is touching every single student. And some of you, how many of you have more than, 600 students in your district? Please unmute and tell us so we can have a plan or a clue as to how we can serve that many students. How many of you have more than 600? Is it less? Do you all have less students? Is it more like 200 or 500 or?
Burnham City, we have 44,000.
4,000. I was going to start in the thousands, but I knew we probably had some smaller districts. How do you have a best practice for our colleagues on the call as to how you try your best to connect with as many students that need your services? What's your best practice?
For me, I treat my children or my students, which I call them all sweet snacks, like honey, sugar, all of that. Being pretty to the point to deal with my students, student by student. I don't go necessarily by standards. What works for one really may not for all. So I just meet my individual students where they are at that time. And remember that it's not being a counselor, they can have a rough day, it can go left, and I'm going to still love you tomorrow. And I stay consistent with that.
Good for you, Stephanie. That's amazing. Does anyone else want to share? I think Oklahoma City, she said 4,000 students. That's incredible. There's no way that that we can honestly touch each individual student in a way perhaps that they need. Thank you all so much for trying, but it is difficult. It is really difficult, especially for those students that need high touch, that need a lot of affirmation or need us to consistently be supportive or inspire them or motivate them to stay on that straight and narrow path. It's difficult. So we need foot soldiers, don't we? So I encourage you all, if anyone has a best practice, please share. Cynthia, I don't know how we're doing on time, but please share so that we can all take away, at least one best practice. So if anyone
we have one in the chat from a Becky Smith, and it says,
Okay.
I'm the only counselor for 700 students. I struggle to reach all students. I share things with all students in Google Classroom, and they can schedule appointments with me for one-on-one time.
I love that. One counselor for 700 students, there's no way. I love that Google Classroom. If you would put that in the chat so people can see if they are not familiar with that, that may be a resource they can use. I love that idea. I am going to steal it. So thank you for sharing. Does anyone else want to share a best practice? Cynthia, how are we on time? How much more time do we have left?
You're fine. It ends at 12:20, and it's only 12:13. Okay. There's some questions in the chat, though.
Okay, please.
Okay, so one person asked, are you going to share your slides and the pictures?
I will. I will.
Okay. So, and then we talked about the videos that you're going to put the links to the YouTube in the chat. And then one person asked on one of the slides, it asked about, just a second. What did she say the word was before inclusion? Inclusion was being asked to dance. Do you want me to repeat that?
Was it diversity? Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance.
Okay.
And there's the screen that shows that inclusion looks like while you're at the party, being invited in and being asked to dance, having the opportunity to select the song, being able to enjoy the food. just examples. I just came up with those examples as to when I went to a dance where I was the minority, what are those things that helped me feel as though I was included and people was glad I was there and they welcomed me there. It's doing those kind of actions. And I will put, Cynthia, I don't know the best way to share the PowerPoint. Do I send it to you with the
You
link?
you can, Joyce, and I can put them in the documents and they'll have access to it. We did have another person put something in their best practices in the chat
Okay,
from
perfect.
Chelsea, and it says showing up every day as my full self and letting students see that representation and knowing that they can do the same wherever they may find themselves.
Absolutely. Thank you. So who shared that? What was her name?
It's Chelsea Graham from Great Plains.
Oh, great finds. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Chelsea, for sharing that. And you're absolutely right. When we talk to employers, our employers tell us those characteristics that they find that they love with the students that we send to them. And they say to us, we love it when your students know how what diversity looks like, what it looks like to appreciate who our customers and clients are. But at the same time, we know that you all did a really good job modeling the behavior because they know when social issues are going on around them in our world, social unrest, they've got the language. They know how to come to work and be respectful and be appropriate in what they say. So you're exactly right. It's us modeling the behavior for our students. We've got to teach it to our staff, but then we've got to encourage them to model the behavior for our students because our students, even though we show them PowerPoints and we talk about this training, they've got to see us model the behavior. So thank you so much for talking about that because that's modeling the behavior for our students. I've got another video that I won't show. It's just a wrap-up video, but I did want to show that this is our diversity and inclusion statement. At Tulsa Tech, we are forming a culture that strives to be inclusive, where all individuals are respected and valued for their differences, innovation, and contributions. And in our non-discrimination statement, you can see that we added gender expression or identity. That's new, and a lot of organizations hesitate to go there, but this is just kind of a statement where we're proclaiming how we're going to treat each other and our students. So I think internally, this works for us. Um, this is our work. So counselors, if there's no other comments or questions, I will say thank you so much. I really appreciate all the work you all do. And I think I had another slide that I was going to show, but you all have been such a blast and great. Thank you so much for participating in the chat. Please let me know how I can assist in bringing additional DEI training to you, your staff, for your students. We've incorporated a professional development day for all of our students, that every single student in our district, we have a professional development day, and we teach DEI, we teach those social emotional learning skills so that when they leave us and go to the next level, we feel as though we've done our job. We prepared our students well. So I encourage you, please let me know if there's any information or if I can present to you or your group, please let me know. And I'll make sure I get the PowerPoint and all the videos to Cynthia so we can put in the chat for you all to have. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Dr. McCullen.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you so much. I'll stay on the line just so that I can make sure that I type in anything that you need to put in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Cynthia, my video would have probably, I think each video was about 2 to 3 minutes long.
Okay.
I think the longest one was the last one. I think it was about 3 minutes. So I think
Yeah,
it was
because when you were
probably
playing it, it was glitchy, the first one, and then the second one was really hard. So
really,
yeah,
and it showed perfectly for me. Darn, I hate that. And you know, I practiced yesterday with AJ,
yes,
and the videos were fine. So
of
you
course
know,
it
you
did.
never know from one day to
You
the
never
other. You
know.
just never know. So
And
that's unfortunate.
I was trying to look for the YouTube video so I could put it in the chat because you had
Oh,
said, what was it, white? I forgot. But I wanted to make sure that I wasn't pulling up a wrong YouTube link.
okay,
So yeah, if you can put that in the chat and then the documents, I'll probably have to give to AJ and then he can put, there's some documents that they can go in and download.
okay. I was going to say the links to the YouTube videos are
Mhm.
listed in the PowerPoint. Would it be easier
Oh,
just to, yes, to
yes.
just send a link to the, how would I do the PowerPoint? How could I put that in the chat so that they can use?
Because that is your PowerPoint. Send it. Let me see what AJ says because there's something in
Okay.
here about file.
And let AJ know that all that practicing we did yesterday, the video
It's still.
is still his work.
Okay. Let's see. Because I think maybe we can put it in here in the chat where it says file and we can download it. So do you see in the chat? And if you look at the bottom where it says everyone,
Yes,
you see where it says
yes.
file? I bet you can pull it in from wherever you saved it
Oh,
and just put
let's
it in that
see.
chat.
Perfect. I'm gonna see if I can try. I
Okay.
saved it on my desktop, so I should be able to find it.
Okay, let me see. Let me ask AJ what's the best way to. Hold on just a sec, okay, Joyce? I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay, I think I did it. I think Cynthia just got off the line, but Becky, Michelle, Miss Calhoun, and Genia.
Do you see it? Oh,
Yes,
you
I
did?
just uploaded.
Oh,
Yes, I think
yay!
I uploaded it. So all the links to the video is in there. So please use the information and let me know again if I can be of service in any other way. Thank you so much.
Thank
But
you,
it is
Joyce.
there for those that, will people be able to come back to the chat
You
and
know, and
still download?
I'm gonna see if can you forward that to me, like send it to me in
I
an
will.
email, and then
Okay,
I'll have AJ upload it to that document that they'll go
okay,
to as well, okay?
okay, sounds good. I will send that to you and let me see how I can share it. Each time I practice, it went right quick. It's right up to 50 minutes. And I was like, oh, and Joyce, if you have any interaction, you're going to go over 50. So I'm almost glad the videos didn't work because it would have taken me right up to about 50 minutes. But let me see how I can share.
So it went great. You got a lot of good feedback.
I
Excellent
did.
presentation.
I tried to think about, as counselors, it's hard to not preach to the choir because they all know this, but I tried to give them little nuggets of information they may not have had. The LGBTQ, that's pretty new. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping some of that information was new information to them. But the rest of it is just putting words together and again, just, preaching to the choir. But I hope it was helpful. And
It
thank
was
you so
very
much for
helpful.
speaking.
It was very
Thank
helpful,
you.
Joyce, because as a parent, I would use it too. So regardless.
Perfect. Perfect. And you're exactly right. And we think about This helps us in our community, at our church, you
Yep.
know, anybody that we come into relationship with. But I think what's important is thank you so much for looking over the conference and probably saying, we need a DEI piece. We need somebody to talk about DEI. So thank you so much. You may have started a trend because I understand that this was the biggest conference you all have ever had. And
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yes.
So we've got to do a better job making sure that we have a bigger platform when it comes to DE&I with our counselors, because, man, that's where the work is.
Yes, it is.
You know, if our teachers aren't, you know, working hard and making sure our students feel included, then it's almost up to the administrators and counselors to help teach what that looks like. So it's valuable information for our counselors, most certainly.
It is. I mean, especially in these times, it is very valuable, more than we could even know. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So,
So I appreciate you,
I
and
do.
I just emailed it to you.
Okay.
I uploaded it in an email to you, so you have
Okay.
that. And please, Cynthia, let me know if there's anything else I could ever do, any training. You know, all you have to do is ask,
Yeah.
and I will figure it out, do the research, and be there in a heartbeat. So let me
Thank
know.
you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Take care, Joyce. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you so much. Talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye-bye.